It's time to talk NASCAR on Prime Sports Network as we race review the race at Dover, the Drydene 400, actually the Duramax Drydene 400 with Eric Smith of racereviewonline.net. And not an exciting race. It wasn't, and maybe, remember we talked last week about, well, if it's a good race, maybe that could change their feelings about going back to two races or maybe even just keeping one race. But I don't know. I'm not so sure. It was a good crowd until Monday, but that's not the type of racing that's going to help. But then again, the crowd was good.
Yeah, and NASCAR put some stats out after it, and they had 1,511 green flag passes, which is better than we've had in the past because last year there were 659. So you almost tripled the passes in the same distance. So it's getting better. I would say as far as the mile tracks and shorter, it was probably the better show of them. I don't think they need two races again, but I'm okay with one if it at least looks like that. We saw some spins, a little too many cautions for my liking, but there was more lead changes than there has been in years, more leaders. So was it your pack racing? No, but was it better than it's been? Yeah. So at least I'll give it another shot. I think it's deserved on the schedule next year. And I saw signs, people posting that, hey, renew your tickets now for 2023, which tells me it'll be back next year. So at least we'll have it back. And it's in a market that you want. It's in the near the Northeast. I know it's not the Northeast, but it's near it. I mean, you've only got two races now, three if you count Pocono, Dover, Watkins Glen, each one race for that track. So they need that market, and
it's a classic track. I mean, it's got some roots, so that's okay. And again, at least the crowd was there. But once again, NASCAR, because for whatever reason, and somebody please, I need an explanation. I just do. Could someone ask the question? Why they won't consider starting these races earlier when they know rain's coming? Can you please explain this? Because the place was packed, and a lot of these guys, a lot of the fans could not return on Monday. If you started the race 2 hours earlier, everybody knew the rain was coming. You could have finished the race on Sunday. I just don't understand what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't understand. Again, I hear them. Oh, the West Coast viewer. The West Coast viewer isn't pulling the weight. I know. If you want to cater to them, why are the ratings not even higher?
And by the way, for you West Coast viewers, wouldn't you prefer to have the race on earlier in the day? Like you could have it at 11 o'clock in the morning. I'd love to be able to sit up and watch a race at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning. So that's not an issue either. I don't get that.
No, I like the F1 races that way. Waking up and they're on TV.
There you go.
And a lot of them prefer that. I don't know many West Coast viewers it's like we're catering to a fan base out west that just doesn't care. They just don't care. If they did, then the ratings would be even higher. Especially when a track doesn't have lights. It's almost criminal to start a race after 3 o'clock.
Well, look, and I said this before too, repeatedly, you can't tell me that golf is not a more popular sport nationwide than NASCAR, or even if you want to say, hey, just as many people like motorsports and NASCAR as golf, right? Whatever. The fact is that golf does it all the time. And they have a ton of events in California, more than NASCAR does. They have tons more fans. It's a more, a summer type of environment in California every time. That's why they want to go there. They don't have to worry about weather. They don't care if they have to move the race, the golf event up because of rain. They always do it. And then you have to turn the TV on at 3 o'clock, say, and the golf event could already be finished, but they don't care. They'll show you the replay of the golf event that finished 2 or 3 hours earlier because they had to start earlier. So if they don't care, why does NASCAR care?
Yep. And then also notice the start time yesterday was noon. Why can't we not start on Sunday at noon? These start times, 3 and 3:30 are just an awkward start time anyways. It's like NFL's got 1 and 4.
I know.
Baseball doesn't start at 3 and 3:30. It's just a weird start time. Like, can you just start at noon, start at 1? Then you give a track at least the effort of, hey, we could get this in before rain, because like at Dover, there's no lights, so you deserve to have the rain come and be moved to a different day because there's no lights. You don't have any time to dry the track. At least if you had lights, you at least open the window. But no, with tracks without lights and you're starting the race at late afternoon, all it takes is one rain shower and it's game over until the next day. That's a shame for the fans that travel there,
Yes.
and it's a shame for fans that even if there isn't any rain, it's hard for them to travel when the race starts so late. It's hard for them to get back home if they
Yeah.
live 2, 3, 4 hours away.
Yeah.
So yeah, we keep banging that drum.
That's why somebody's got to
IndyCar is
ask
the
the
only
question. I need an interview. I need somebody to interview the higher ups and to have these types of questions thrown back and forth. I just can please someone find me an interview. We have to in the comment section, please. If you know of an interview, if you know that somebody important in NASCAR have already been answering these questions and again, maybe it's as simple as maybe they have and all they've talked about is the West Coast, but still, have there been counter to that? I want a debate on this. Have you heard anything about it? And if not, we need a debate. We need a debate with the higher ups so they just don't say it's the West Coast and leave it at that.
Yeah, because I've heard the West Coast, but I need a better answer because that doesn't work. To me, look at geography. Where's the majority of the people in the population live in the United States? East Coast. That's why you hear East Coast bias, because majority of the people live in the East Coast. That's the time zone we operate in. That's where NASCAR is based. That's where if you look at the fans, then I want to ask one more question further. And then what's not necessarily the demographic, but where do your fans percentages live at? And I guarantee you the West Coast is small compared
absolutely
to the. So why you cater to this when this can't pull their weight? That doesn't pull the weight. If it does, then we'd have 10 million viewers.
I couldn't even finish watching the end of this race until like 7 o'clock last night. And most people probably the same thing because they're working. So they're recording the event unless they took off. And how many people actually took off and stayed home after lunch? I mean, that just, come on.
To watch Dover? Yeah.
Not going to happen.
You're not wasting a day. You're not wasting PTO to watch Dover. No. Like, it's just not going to happen.
So,
it's then if it goes that way, then my question would be not to bash West Coast viewers. And where are you at? Where are you at, West Coast viewers? If we're catering to you, where are you at? Where are you at? We're catering to you, then you should watch. You should make it appointment TV, West Coast viewers.
Yeah.
If we're catering to you, then you better watch, because you're pissing off a lot of people out east that we're turning our back on the fan base. We're going to go to the West Coast viewer. Where are you at?
And
watch it.
If you can at least do us a favor, and even if whoever passionate NASCAR fans there are out west, well, you're telling me you don't want to watch these races earlier? So if you do, which I would think a majority of you or 50% of you probably would, then please say it. Please explain that to NASCAR in message boards, on radio shows, that, hey, you know what? I know there aren't a lot of fans out in California like me, but I wouldn't mind watching the race at 11 o'clock in the morning or 8 or 10 o'clock in the morning. So go ahead. I don't care if it starts at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Just say it.
Yeah.
So,
tell us why.
Yes.
Yeah. Because all I hear is it's for West Coast. Well, tell us why. Why is it? Go a little bit further. Why is the West? Because you're not pulling your weight. You're not doing what you need to be doing. If you live on the West Coast and you're a racing fan and you do anything but watch the NASCAR race, what's wrong with you? You're the problem.
Yeah.
You are the problem because we're catering to you. This rain delay is your fault,
right.
West Coast viewer.
Yeah.
It's your fault. It's NASCAR for catering to you, but it's your fault.
And then, like you said,
you want.
Then they restart the race at 9 o'clock on a Monday in California.
Yeah, how dare them do that?
Crazy.
Yeah, Monday Night Football works in rush hour traffic for West Coast. 8 o'clock. The kicks off at 8:20? Is that the kickoff time on Monday night? Which is 5:20 West Coast,
so.
And they don't have any problems out there.
Yep. It's got to change, especially with technology today. A lot of people are recording the races just like they had to do yesterday. You must start taking that into account as part of your marketing plan moving forward. Let's break down the race. There wasn't a whole lot to go over, but we are going to start with this part here. And this is Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman. And this is where the race changed, because at this point, with 259 of 400 laps gone, it was starting to appear. And by the way, I think this is also interesting. I wanted to play it at this point because we see this little rivalry from yesterday. That's going to come into play.
That's a preview of later.
Yeah, and so here's Bowman.
That exact move.
Yeah, so here they are pitting, and you felt at this point it was going to be Busch and Bowman until the end. This is what you felt, but unfortunately, we're going to see what happens when they pit, and the caution comes out. Even though they're going to show a little of Alex Bowman skidding out there, but the caution comes out, and with the caution coming out right here, Bowman and Kyle Busch stuck on pit road, and that changed everything.
That did. And that's what happens sometimes. And we kind of see it a lot on the IndyCar side is the overcut, undercut. You don't know when the caution's going to come. Sometimes you want a short pit to ensure you don't get caught like that. Well, at other times it looks dumb. Like, oh, you're leading. Why would you short pit? But that's why. That right there is why they got caught. Luckily for them, both of them already won this year, so it didn't phase them a whole lot. I think it's funny that the report says debris, and that's the actual report here. The reason for caution's debris, but it's clearly AJ Allmendinger right there with the right front tire missing. But it's they had two good cars. They deserved to be there too. I mean, Kyle didn't have a great car early, but he led the most laps and was in prime position. And sometimes that happens. That's racing, and it's good for us fan because it spiced it up a little bit.
Unfortunately, and I was kind of surprised, and because even Larry McReynolds figured there would be at least a caution or two left late. Now, we all had Chase Elliott, so it was like, hey, no caution's fine. Let's just get a win here. And sure enough, there were no late cautions, which kind of was surprising.
No. I think by that point of the race, everybody kind of settled in. There was no need other than Truex and Chastain on the last lap. The reason to push it, you kind of knew where you were. There's a reason you were where you were. The track was treacherous. That's what we want to see. It was tough on tires, tough on equipment. Saw guys spinning in practice and qualifying. And so I think, and you look at the team, the guys up front too. I mean, Elliott, Stenhouse, Chastain, as you see there, Truex. I mean, dude, Stenhouse is a new guy. Chastain is finally starting to get used to being there. He didn't want to lose his ground. Truex pushed it a little too far. And Elliott wanted to win. So they were kind of settling in at that point. And as you see, there's some separation. This is what the drivers want. This is racing right here. This is, you're not going to worry about a wreck. And I'm glad.
By the way, that thing that the driver just kicked up, isn't that debris?
Usually.
Just, what the hell is that thing that they just kicked up?
I do like at this point, what, 5 to go? Like, you could tell this was Elliott's race.
Yes.
That's why I hate to see a fluke caution come out and then change the whole dynamic. Like, it gets to that point, Elliott deserved to win, and I'm glad it played out for him to win. And good for Stenhouse to finally get a run that he's.
I don't know where that came from.
No. I mean, it was 31st in points coming into it, but yeah, Chase to finally get a win. I mean, it's been since November 2020 since he won on an oval. July 4th was his last win in general, so it also puts 4 Hendrick cars in the playoffs already. Here we are, 12 races into it, and they're all in. So that they were 1, 2, 3, 4 there last year, and this year they come out. They're not 1, 2, 3, 4. They had 3 in the top 7, and here we are with all 4 in the playoffs.
Well, our strategy worked. Go heavy with Hendrick last week, and look, Kyle Larson, he had the issue. And if he didn't, that was the tire went down with Larson, right?
Yeah, he spun. Yeah, yeah.
That doesn't happen. He could have still won this race too. So it's possible.
He was probably winning. That's where at least the randomness of some of these things that happen. But here we are. It just seems we got lucky with Chase because we went through all this analysis last week, and then you look at the finishing order. None of us had 2, 3, 4. No. We're lucky Chase won. And then if you look at 2, 3, 4, you're like, why on earth would we have picked Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to win this thing? Or Ross Chastain or Chase or Christopher Bell? We made a case for him, but I don't think we saw that he'd have a legitimate shot of winning. And here that those guys are 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So
all things considered,
there, at least we should have known. We talked about it last week when me and you both debated. Did we just go all in on Hendrick?
Well, that's why.
So we would have won even more.
The odds were with us.
Yes.
So we had one driver left, but the odds were with us.
So. Yep. And he still won. At the end of the day, he's the one that won, and that's all that matters.
And then we had this. Now, Was this anybody's fault?
I think that's a racing deal. I see what Chastain's doing. He slid up to take his air away. He was trying to slide up and slow Truex down. I think Truex was already pissed off probably at that point. And he was trying from that blocks from earlier. So he was trying to run hard. And I think he probably would have moved Chastain if he could have got to him a little bit harder. And he wrecked himself in the process. But I don't know why Truex wouldn't just take the finish there.
That's true.
I don't know what
That's
you're
ridiculous.
I mean, I get what you're trying to do on the last lap, but it's the last lap. You're talking about going from fourth to third.
That's what I thought.
You need the momentum. Just take fourth place. So I think it was more of a racing. What's Chastain supposed to do? Is let him by? I mean, he was there for the last 50 or 60 laps. So I just kind of question why Truex was going hard for the one spot. I mean, because now you look at his finishes, and out of his last four, 22nd, 21st, 5th, and 12th, it would have looked a lot better with 5th and 4th the last 2 weeks going to a track he's really good at. So I could see you could make a case for fault on both sides, but at the end of the day, why was Truex pushing that hard for?
Agreed.
Now, if he was going for that spot and had a chance to go for the win, then yeah, go for the spot. But last lap, just finish fourth and right onto the sunset with a solid top five. And
I'm sure it had to do with the fact that they were just together the entire race. And it was like, I want to beat him or something, or who knows.
Yep.
But that's still silly.
That's where testosterone, I think that's where the male testosterone getting in the way. And this, I'm mad, I'm going to go get that guy. And it's like, think a bigger picture.
And if they lose, a round in the playoffs or something like that or whatever, something happens because they didn't have a couple of points, then you can look at that as.
Yeah. I mean, this is a momentum-based sport. You hear that talked about a lot. And he had a chance, again,
to start momentum.
2 top fives. Yeah. And now you just threw it all away because it looks better when you say you have 2 straight top fives instead of saying he's got 3 finishes, a 12th or worse in the last 4. Because that's what the stats say right now. But 2 top fives look a little bit different. I think it's the team morale. Now the team's mad. Now the team's, why Chastain do this to us? Now it's dysfunction when he didn't need it. You could have just came home fourth, bit your tongue, gone on with the team morale, going to a track that is arguably one of your best lately, and now it's more dysfunction. So I thought he threw away a momentum is more so what he did. And Chastain, he's got it. I mean, he's got 3 top fives his last 4. So you're talking about 2 different scenarios.
Sure. Well, actually, if you look at it, Chastain, 7 top fives, 2 runner-ups, and 2 wins in his last 9.
Yeah.
That's probably the best stretch of racing of any Cup driver in the last 9 races.
Yep. And he's also, you look at what he did at Darlington next up. This is why I know we'll get ahead of ourselves for our next show, but he was third.
He's got the momentum. He's keeping the momentum
last year.
Yep.
So he's a guy that kept it. Where Truex, it's like that's why I was hesitant to pick him. But because of his stats, even picking him, I'm going to lose money if he wins, but I'm not going to lose $100.
I was the only,
He's been so good at Darlington.
That was definitely an issue for me as well. All right.
If he was 4th last week, I probably would side a little bit differently, but now the momentum base is gone, and that's why it's like I went with him to just not lose a whole $100. I lose $30, but on the off chance that he could win. But I think I would go more profitable if that's where one finish changes things.
Absolutely, because if you look at it, and like you said, it would have been 22nd, 21st, 5th, and say 4th. So he's gradually getting better all 4 races. You're thinking, all right, now he's going to do a top 3, top 2, maybe even win. Oh, but that's all out the door. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up. Next week, we will be here to wrap up the race that we're about to preview on our next show at Darlington. So we will wrap that up next week. And are we going to be wrapping up anything else soon? You got the IndyCar Series we'll be wrapping up. Actually, the IndyCar Series had a race on Sunday at Alabama.
Yep, they did. It was a good race to the end. Pato O'Ward beat Alex Palou and VK. It's typical IndyCar race. It's when you don't turn off mid-race because 30 to go, everything changed and pit cycles and
who was the best car?
Undercut. VK led the most laps, but like that one with what happened. See, he was dominated, and they had 2-stop strategy and 3-stop strategies, and it was pretty even until Elio Castroneves and rookie Callum Ilott had a run in. Ilott spun, got in the gravel, stalled, yellow comes out. 3-stop strategy was now out the window, favor the 2. VK was just leaps and bounds better, dominating, coming to the final pit stop. You thought, all right, as long as they have a good pit stop, he's going to win this race. So I could see where people might, I might tune off, do something else. He had a good pit stop. He exited first. He got passed. Pato Award got him. Here's why he got him. Luckily, IndyCar does a good job of sending out lap-by-lap report. On lap 60, 30 to go, he led Pato Award by over 2 seconds. They pit next time by, lap 61. Pato Award was on his tail. Pato Award made up 2 seconds on that lap, which was the difference in this race because Jimmy Johnson, VK caught Johnson in a bad part of the track and couldn't lap him. And Johnson wasn't doing it on purpose. It's a tough track. It was made for motorcycles, so it's a narrow track. He couldn't get by. Pato was pushing hard, catches up to him. They pit together. VK comes out right ahead of him, but Pato was already there. Pato was aggressive on his outlap, gets by. 2 laps later, Palou pit, so he stayed out 2 extra laps. But by doing that, he had a clear track so he could run harder by himself compared to what VK was naturally with lap traffic in front of him. So his pit stop, so that coming into the pits, pit stop, outlap was 1.9 seconds quicker than what VK's was. Wow. He slides into second. VK, who dominated the race, who did absolutely nothing wrong, finishes third, which is IndyCar. This is why sometimes the strategy I just want NASCAR to try. Like the strategy made it. You didn't need fluke cautions to turn this thing around. It's just a pit strategy. Something as simple as that changes a race on a road course. So,
well,
we'll be on site next week.
Speaking of pit strategy, that is going to be something that we're going to be talking about on our next show because you have to come up with pit strategy at Darlington, no question about it. So, because if you don't have one of the top cars, it's your only shot because you are not passing at Darlington. So, at least we don't know. It's a new car.
Yeah.
So
Dover helped. We'll see. In Darlington too, is you manage the tire fall off. Right, that's where there's pit strategy in this, but it's kind of like what I just talked about the IndyCar races. Your gas, I'm not sure, I can't remember off the top of my head how long a fuel run is. So let's just say 70 laps for just a rounded number. Your tires may only last 50 of it. They fall way off as the lap times. So let's just say in 5-10 laps, you're losing 5 seconds. Just it keeps going down. Newer tires, you're going to have a quicker burst of speed. So you might see the guys mid-pack, well, I'm going to short pit this. I'm going to go ahead and pit, get new tires, and I'm going to make up ground on that guy whose tires are falling off. And then those guys are going to pit and then make. So it's a constant making up and losing.
And that could make it interesting. Right.
Yeah. That's the only thing that, however, and we've talked about this, the TV broadcast has to sell it. You have to explain what's going on.
They won't.
Because it's compelling if you think about it, but you got to sell it. You got to, this guy pit here. They didn't do it at Richmond. This is going to be like a race like Richmond was, but they did a terrible job of explaining that at Richmond. So we'll see if maybe they can do a little bit better.
I doubt it. Okay.
All
right. So again, we'll be back next week to recap Darlington, and we'll be back shortly to preview Darlington on our next broadcast. And don't forget to check out everything related to motorsports from IndyCar to NASCAR on racereviewonline.net. And we'll see you shortly. Thanks, Eric.
Yep. See you in a few minutes. Thank you.